Hi, I'm Heather from booktubes, and today is the start of a fantasy romance vlog, hopefully. So far it's the 16th today, and I have read one book this month. It was a fantasy romance book. All the other ones have been DNFs. However, my children are gone for the next several days, and so I had, big hopes and plans and dreams of reading a ton of fantasy romance books while they were gone. And then I've been sick for the last over a week and stuff, so things have not gone well up until this very moment. Like, it's later in the day than I wanted, but the hopes are I'll end up reading a bunch of fantasy romance books. However, as kind of a fail-safe for that, I wanted to do a one sentence reading and a first chapter try of the 10 books that are on this fantasy priority TBR for this vlog. Do I think I'm going to get to all 10 in the next 4 days? No, I don't. However, who knows what I'll do enough, what I'll prioritize, all of that. So I do have some priorities first, but I will talk to you about that as we go through the titles. So I'm really excited, but understand that a lot of my mental well-being is hanging on this vlog. For the first sentence reading and the try chapter challenge, we're just going to go in the order that they're on my Kindle, and I'll let you know kind of the priorities and goals. I have a lot of goals for this vlog. So the first one we're going with is an arc of Long Live Evil by Rees Brennan. Now again, this is the arc, which is an advanced reader copy. It's not always completely finished. Sometimes you might have some corrections and changes in the final version that are not in the arc. All right, chapter 1, the villainess faces death. The Emperor broke into the throne room. I'm going to give that a 5. I love that. Why is the Emperor having to break into his own throne room? Let's read the first chapter and find out. All right, I finished that chapter and it was absolutely fantastic. So the setup of this story is that this girl is dying from cancer. She is 20 years old. She has a sister that is 16. It's their favorite book series together. I don't want to tear up talking about this, but the first chapter is emotional and it's really well done because you have this setup of the book that they are reading, you have the setup of their lives and how they've gotten to this point, and then you also have the transition because she is dying and she is actually given the opportunity to become a character in the book world, and she does that and she wakes up in that kingdom all within the first chapter, and it is done so well. It is not easy for me to be particularly interested in the beginning of a story when I know that there's a huge transition coming, like Portal Fantasy, because I often feel like we spend too much time in the setup and it bores me to do that. However, this was such a good mix, again, of them talking about the book together, them talking to each other, her and her monologue, all of this stuff. Just really well done. Like, I am very excited to read this weekend. So 5 out of 5 on both fronts. This might jump right to the top of the list because on my Instagram polls, it was one that won. So it was one of the first couple of books that I was going to read anyways, but I might just read this one first. We shall see. All right, the next book on my Kindle is Mistress of Lies by Enright. This is another arc, but this did just come out this week before you're seeing this. So it came out a couple days ago. For me, this is a queer vampire, Filipino vampire, even more specifically, story, and I think it's a love triangle. This is not the first sentence, this is before the first chapter and stuff, but it's really good, so let me read it to you. She would force them to see her, to accept her, and she'd reclaim the power that should have been hers, even if it took her years. But for now, she'd have to play the game, smiling and simpering, until they had no choice but to bow before her, and this was just her opening move. Does that not hype you up for a political fantasy like you would not believe? All right, here's the first official sentence. It should have been more difficult to assassinate her father. 5 out of 5. Is this vlog going to be everything that I hoped for? Am I going to hit my goals? Am I going to find new favorites? because so far we couldn't be asking for more. I'm so happy right now. Let me read this chapter and get back to you. I can hear like a really high-pitched sound. If you can, I'm so sorry. I have no idea what it is. Maybe it's just my head. I don't know. Anyways, Mistress of Lies, another fantastic first chapter. I'm so excited. The first chapter was basically all about killing her father, cleaning up, and now she's the new head of the family. They are blood workers. There's a vampire king. This is a queer threesome, polyamorous relationship, but she, you know, is a political power and has spies and just has a lot of plans. And then we have a guy that we're gonna meet in the next chapter, based on the chapter head, that she is drawing into her world of treachery and everything. It's gonna be very, very interesting. So I really want to read that too. The next one is Heartstone by Katharine Elle White. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling with dragons. The first sentence is, I've never seen an angry hobgoblin before. I will give this a solid 3. Solid 3 on the first line reading scale. We're gonna read the first chapter and come back. Okay, so Heartstone, I think that I'm gonna give the first chapter 5 stars too. This is like a really, really good version, which I expected because Mara, Books Like Woe, has raved about this book for literal years, and I would expect her to have a pretty high standard for a Pride and Prejudice retelling. But basically, I think we meet Darcy, and there's a kerfluffle with hobgoblins. And then there's some fun banter between Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, you know, their characters, what would be, that is not exactly true to the original Pride and Prejudice, but really gives you a bit of the flavor and also like a continuation, very much in their own tone. Like I felt like this was things that they would say. And yeah, we have dragons, and one of her sisters was killed by a griffin, and the dragon riders are here actually to kill that griffin. So that was great. The next one that we're going to do is The Sun, the Storm, and the Shadows by Mikayla D. Hornedo. This is the indie fantasy romance that is based on Mayan mythology. First line is, well, this wasn't going as planned. I'm gonna give that a 2. Okay, so in this first chapter, you have 2 sisters doing a robbery that goes wrong. They have to run into the cursed forest and leave their home behind. Their home, where they had woken up with absolutely no memory at the ages of 15 and 16, 10 years before. They knew their ages, that they were sisters. Anything else that they tried to remember, they would get horrible headaches. And it looks like we have fae and gods and romance going to be happening based on the synopsis. And I would give this first chapter a 4. I am out of time for now, so that's all of the first chapters I'm going to do for the moment, but I do have several other books and specific goals that I want to prioritize, and I'll talk about that with my reading journal. All right, this is my reading spread for this vlog. So here's August. You can see I already had Long Live Evil and Mistress of Lies. Mistress of Lies being a hopeful on the monthly TBR. And then this is the vlog spread. First sentence, try chapter, the different days that I plan on doing the vlog, summary. And then these are my goals. I want a new favorite, specifically a new favorite from a new to me author. I am desperate for it. I will do anything. I want to prioritize arcs from NetGalley, my oldest TBR books, my 33 for 33 TBR, and Nina the Starry Bride, because I can read it on the iPad because my daughter is not home. So I have a priority of it. So those are my goals. I am desperately praying, dreaming, hoping, dying to keep. And I really like how I did this whole thing for the vlog. So that, you know, just kind of has me extra excited. So apparently when I don't have kids to spend energy on, I do random baking projects, which is not the norm for me. And I also stay up until midnight reading books.
Who knew? Not me. I do want to take this time to point out that I requested the arc of Long Live Evil specifically because of Katie Roberts' rave review about it several months ago. The things that she said about it made me want to read that book, and that's why I added it to the TBR. So I'm very grateful to them for putting this book on my radar, saying all the things that made me want to read it.
I wanted to update you ages ago. Today has been not a bust, but certainly not the level of reading that I had hoped for. So this morning I started Underneath the Oak Tree, which I thought was an arc of the graphic novel / comic lined up from the original webtoon, and it's not. It's an actual novel, which I feel like is my fault that I did not know, but I did not know. So now I have a 435-page fantasy romance arc that I thought was a graphic novel and is not. However, that doesn't come out until November. That is no longer this weekend's problem. The entire reason why I was going to read that was because I thought it was all graphic novel and I wanted to read that on the iPad, and that's difficult to use when my daughter is around because she drains the battery. So that got taken off the TBR. I did read 2 different volumes of Nina the Starry Bride. I read 8 and 9, I believe, and I gave them both 4 stars. The previous 7 were all 5 stars for me. It's not that these fell off or anything. I'm not sure how much of it is my mood and stuff. 8 was really finishing up a plot from 7, with, you know, a bit of betrayal mixed in. And then 9 was kind of another political plot, all of which I'm interested in, but were not my favorite volumes. There wasn't quite as much romance, still, you know, a tiny bit, but it seems like from some of the people, Lisi's, who have read farther than me, it seems like maybe it's not going to be who I choose and we're going to end up with one final love interest, but no one knows who that is. I don't know, but I am certainly going along for the ride. However, I have 3 volumes left that are in English, and I don't really feel like I want to rush through them this weekend. So I think I'm going to stop at those 2. And then I've read like a page more of Long Live Evil. However, I read quite a bit of it last night. I want to say like 37% or so. I am really liking this. Now, you have to be completely aware that this is written as the main character has read this book and has gone into the book story and still knows that it is a book. And also she's actively been going through chemotherapy the entire time that her sister has been reading her this book. So she is foggy on some details and on some plot points. Just be aware of cancer and chemotherapy as a content warning for this whole book. So far, I think it just depends. If you're completely trying to avoid it, then avoid it. But if you would be interested in a cancer patient who is on their deathbed, basically getting a second chance at life through a fantasy book, it talks a lot about how disorienting it is to go from being completely wasted away from chemotherapy and cancer, you know, where you've been going through it for years and your body is on the verge of death, to going to a fully healthy, few years older even, because she's 20 and her character is like 24 or so, and she has never grown into a healthy adult woman's body. She's had cancer since she was 17, and just how weird it is for her to be able to do things without pain, to be able to do things at all, and also to have any significant amount of flesh on her body. So anyways, the point of that is I can see how that could be very validating and seeing yourself in it, and I could also see how it could be incredibly triggering. So just, you know, be very aware that that is more than just a brief mention. It is, you know, our main character's story. And then she is in this storybook. She's actively rooting for the villain. She's becoming a villain, all of this stuff. She's happy being a villain because these aren't real people. These are storybook characters. And it's just interesting. And it's also with the main character being so completely aware of tropes and, you know, the usual things in stories, and so all of that is referenced a lot. So if that sounds terrible to you, you won't like it. However, it's really well done, and I am really loving the humor and just kind of, cause yes, like, who doesn't want to go into their favorite story and become a hot villain? Like, I really see the appeal of this book. I'm really liking it so far, but I've read like 1 page of it today, and I'm about to go do series check-in live. So once I'm all done with that, I think I'm going to try and read more. I have not read nearly as much as I would have liked. However, progress is still being made for sure. So I'd really like to finish Long Live Evil and like at least one more thing.
If everything else that I say in this vlog does not convince you to pick up Long Live Evil, please know that there is a bodyguard slash assassin love interest that is a sociopath, which is one of my favorite character types. There is another character that is a spy master, again, one of my favorites. And then you also have tropes turned on their heads. Just know I love everything about this book, as you will find as you continue watching this vlog. But those were specific things that I did not mention.
Hello friends and enemies, welcome to or back to Happy Pronounce Me as well here with anticipated releases for the rest of the year.
On Sunday, I spent a lot of time working on my reading journal and watching booktube. I also did a lot for upcoming video notes and things like that. What I did not do, despite that Kindle sitting in my lap, was read hardly at all. Which brings us to Monday morning, as every week does. Now, this was an exceptionally good Monday for me because I was by myself all day and I got to do literally whatever I wanted, including trying eye masks for the first time.
Long ago, in a land not that far away,
the Dudleys will do anything for power, and they are very
Good morning, party people. I did not talk to you yesterday. I did take some clips, so I'm sure you have just seen that. But I read a couple of chapters yesterday of Long Live Evil. I am really liking it. I just didn't really read. I watched The Fall Guy. It was not as amazing as I was hoping it would be based on everybody's commentary. It was a rom-com, but wasn't quite as good as I had hoped. So I am 52% into Long Live Evil. I want to sit here, rewatch My Lady Jane because I'm trying to boost the stream numbers because Amazon did not renew it for season 2, and I really want them to, or someone to. And it does end on a very satisfying ending. If we do only get this one season, it's still worth watching. It, you know, it really is good on its own, these 8 episodes, but I'm gonna sit here and watch that and hopefully finish this book because I have not been reading extra really at all. My husband is gone all day. My kids are gone all day. So it's almost 10 now. Between now and 5, I want to read. I don't want to be on my phone. I want to read.
controlled by one man.
Guess who got an arc? I'm pretty sure. This is the best day of my life. I got an arc of Kristen Ashley's new book! Ah! You don't understand how excited I am! I never in a million years thought that this would happen. I just was like, you know, there's an arc sign up. Let me just do it. You know, I did all the extra steps. I figured out my Kindle email. Listen, steps are a lot for me, but I did it. I was like, you know, I'm gonna read this book no matter what. So like, if I could get an arc, how great would that be? And then they emailed me and were like, would you like a physical arc? And I was like, yes. You guys don't even understand how incredibly hyped I am. How incredibly hyped. This is my first ever physical Kristen Ashley book. You know, I've read like 60 something of her books. She's my favorite author. I love her book so much. I'm so excited. Oh my God. All right, I'm at 79% of Long Live Evil. I am so stressed out. So this is like
really clever. It's going to really work for you, or is going to really not. I don't think you're going to have a lot of middle of the road reviews on this one, because they are in a storybook. They know they're in a storybook. They're talking about tropes and all of that, but then also the story changes because of their actions. The main character is operating under the rules and guidelines of the book that she read, but her presence in the book is changing it. And, you know, characters that she didn't like, she loves. Characters that weren't important are important to her. Characters that were her favorite, she despises. I'm so stressed. I just need them all to be okay, and I am not sure that they're gonna be okay, folks. I am not sure about it at all. Also, because she is, like, playing the villainess, she talks about villain tropes all the time, and hero and true love, and just all sorts of stuff, and it's just fun. It's just fun, but also, like, an incredible story on its own as well. It's a really good fantasy story. And it's working within a very difficult to pull out, because it is kind of gimmicky. Pull off, not pull out. It is kind of gimmicky, but because it's done so well, and because that's the entire premise of the story, is her going into her favorite storybook, it just really, really works. Like, I think if that interests you, the execution of it is excellent.
Wow, Jane's talking to some witchy herbalist from the river market. Something about poison.
Ever sourced poison from a river market flower girl in order to murder the king and replace him with your deranged paramour? Well, if you find yourself in such a predicament, dispose of all the evidence, including the flower girl. It's called being detail-oriented.
I really hope this is not the end.
What on earth is going on?
Hello. I'm getting ready to film my Queen's Thief announcement, but I'm going to try this new, to me anyways. It is Maybelline's Tattoo Color 24-eye stick in the shade. Nobody knows. Is it in the shade Shimmer? Somehow I doubt that. But, so I wanted to try it for the first time. Well, I'm getting ready. I have to tell you, I finished Long Live Evil by Sarah somebody. 5 stars. Incredible. Incredible. I want book 2. Book 1 isn't even out yet. You are seeing this video on Saturday, and the book comes out on Tuesday after this video. It is so good. That ending, loved it so much. I feel like everything in the book where you're like, I don't know about all this, I feel like that's all very purposeful, and like she knows what she's doing. You know, I really want book 2. It's not really a cliffhanger. I would not call it a cliffhanger. It's all wrapped up pretty neatly in a bow for this first book. It's a book that is worth reading before the rest of the series comes out, you know? You very much can read this book on its own. But I want more. I want more. I want to find out where the rest of the story goes. In fact, the only reason I know for sure it's not a standalone is because it's Long Live Evil #1. Oh, guys. It was so good. You don't even know. There are multiple romances in this book, including queer romances. All right, so far this is trash. This is not giving what I wanted it to give. This is useless. Like, I feel like this is just not the shade that I wanted, you know? This is like a bit pink. A bit light pink. All right, well, we're gonna pivot on that because the lid is more of like a rose gold, but switch to my favorite. Just this e.l.f. liquid eyeshadow. Anyways, So the book follows multiple different POVs. So you have the main character who is from our world and is dying of cancer and goes into the book, and then you follow multiple characters as well. And the story is changing based on what she's doing, and it is just incredible. Like, it's such a fun premise, but then the author really just pulled it off. Like, she did that in such an incredible. That's what I've got for you. And I read the author's note, and she is a cancer survivor, someone who was stage 4 cancer. And I feel like I certainly assumed that already based on just reading the beginning of the book, because the way that the cancer treatment and the way that that felt emotionally, physically, all of that felt so real and so well done that I was like, this person is speaking from experience. So on the cancer front, be aware that it's in there, be aware that it's present. If you need to completely avoid it, obviously that's understandable, but it is well done by someone who, you know, has firsthand experience. And I felt like the way that worked into the story, I think that it's something for you to be aware of, but I'm not sure that's something you have to completely avoid depending on your current tolerance. This book is so good. Like, how can I get an arc of book 2 that isn't even written yet? That's where I'm at. All right, so we have officially found a new favorite. We smashed that goal and we read a NetGalley arc. And NetGalley arc is a new favorite. Who would have thought? But man, it was so good. After I do this video, I want to continue Heartstone, which is the Pride and Prejudice retelling, because it is on my 33 for 33 TBR, and it's one of my oldest books. So if I read that one, we can knock those 2 goals out with 1 stone, and ultimately we would have accomplished all of our goals for the video, even though technically we didn't read nearly as much as I would have liked. But you know what? That's okay. This is still an improvement on the reading slump that I've been in. Obviously, I'm always happy if I find a new favorite. Who cares how many days it took me to read it? You know what I'm saying? Not me. I don't care that, you know, I did other things and didn't just read it straight through, because ultimately it was such a wonderful experience and I loved it, and that's all I'm asking for. So yeah, if I read Heartstone, even if I DNF Heartstone, technically, you know, goals will be met. But I want to do that. I don't want to just be done reading for the day, even though I feel like this is gonna give me such a book hangover. Like, I want to tell you so many things. If you read this and you know all the spoilers, I beg of you, come to my Instagram DMs and talk to me about Long Live Evil, because that's where I'm at. I would just love to get to talk to someone about this book. But I'm going to go film another video about books that I want to talk to people about. The Queen's Thief series by Megan Whalen Turner. No, Megan Turner, what? Megan? Malin? Did I say Malin? Megan Whalen Turner was in the acknowledgements as well for this book. But yeah, Long Live Evil, highly recommend. It's going to be on my best books of the year list, no question.
You've probably never gotten this much footage of my pets in a vlog at all, and a good part of that is that my children are gone, and so they're all cuddled around me because they can. But these black-capped chickadees were outside my kitchen window in the lilac bush, teasing the cats so badly. I walked in the kitchen and both cats were at the window and I was like, what is going on? Well, this is what's going on. These little birds are messing with them. Then I made cucumber salad for the next day. Not my cucumber of the day, but whatever. And then this is my favorite seasoned salt of all time, has been for my entire life. It's what my mom used when I was growing up. Never run out, never surrender. And I made a Philly cheesesteak tater tots for my husband. That was what he wanted while the kids were gone. So then next day, I am still taking an antibiotic, so I have to eat in the morning before I take the first dose, which I hate eating in the morning. I always have ever since I was a kid. So I won't lie, that is like a weird struggle for me to have to eat like 3 times a day for this antibiotic. It just, it's the worst. I'm so annoyed with it because I'm not hungry.
Hello, my children are on their way home, which means that this is the end of this vlog, and I did in fact finish Heartstone by Katharine White. So this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling with dragons. That is the perfect 1-sentence summation of this, right? I am waffling between a 4 and a 5. I really enjoyed this book. I don't think it will be a good book if you are not familiar with Pride and Prejudice. You can be familiar with either the novel or the adaptations, the 6-hour BBC miniseries, or the Keira Knightley movie, either one. If you are familiar with those, you are familiar with the beats and the characters that you need to know for this story. Without that knowledge of Pride and Prejudice, I think that this story would fall very flat. I think that it really is assuming you know what they're talking about. That being said, this is exactly what I want for a retelling. While it hits the beats, it does not hit them beat for beat perfectly, copied scenes and characters and dialogue. It's not one for one, but it is very much, you know what they're talking about. You know the source material, you know what scenes are coming. Maybe they don't actually happen quite as you expect them to, and I liked that, but they are still there. And again, that's what I want in a retelling. I want it to be recognizable, but I don't want to just feel like I'm reading a lesser version of the original, which is often what I feel when they just copy and paste. So I really like this. If you are not a Pride and Prejudice stan, I don't think that you're going to really like this. I think that this would be, a mediocre book in that case. But I think if you do love Pride and Prejudice, especially if you want a comfort read, but you do not want to actually do a reread of something that you've already read before, this is just different enough to be new and exciting. It is a good version of what it's trying to do. It's a, fantasy, basically, Pride and Prejudice. And you can trust that you already know who all is going to be okay, who all is going to end up together, all of that kind of thing, right? So for that, I would highly, highly recommend. Again, I did pick this up completely based on Mara at Books Like Whoa, raving about it literal years ago, and it has never gone off my radar. I've always had it in the back of my mind that if I want this type of thing, this is what I'm going to pick up. And I'm really glad that I did. I honestly flew through it. It was a very easy read. That being said, I'm still thinking about the ending of Long Live Evil. Oh, the setup, it's exactly the type of thing that I love. The interesting thing about all of these fantasy romances that I read in this vlog, there's absolutely no smut in any of them, no sex scenes at all. So Long Live Evil, well, I would call it a fantasy romance because that is very important to what happens. You need to go into it liking the idea of the fantasy. If you're only going into it for the romance, I'm not sure it's going to be central enough for you to be satisfied, but I found both very satisfying together. So that's what I would recommend for that. Again, Heartstone is for Pride and Prejudice stans who also like fantasy romance. And then, The Starry Bride is my current favorite manga series. It is a fantasy romance manga series, as evidenced by it being in this vlog. But just a quick recap if you're not already familiar. Nina is a orphan. She is a doppelganger for the princess, and so when the princess dies, the priestess princess, even more specifically, she is put in her place and thrust into court politics, trying to have a marriage contract to save the country and all sorts of stuff. And it's very fun. It is a love triangle. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with the love triangle, and I finished volume 9 in this vlog. In the States, in English, volumes 1 through 12 are currently out, and then 13 I think is coming this year, maybe even this fall, not 100% sure. Honestly, if you want to know that, you should follow Izzy at Happy For Now, who is the reason why I read this manga in the first place. She is a wealth of knowledge about these things, so I would honestly just go to her channel. But it is definitely a manga that I would recommend, either if you're already familiar with them or if you are a fantasy romance reader and want to branch out. This would be a good one to branch out on. As far as my goals for the vlog, I'm going to try and insert my reading journal spread here. But as far as my goals, I did the first sentence reading and the try chapter. I read a NetGalley arc, which was Long Live Evil. It's easily a new favorite. Absolutely loved it. I read a couple of volumes of Nina the Starry Bride, and I also read Heartstone, which is on my oldest TBR books, is the, I think, third oldest, and also on my 33 for 33 TBR. I hit all of my goals, even though I only read a fraction of the books that I had hoped to for this vlog. I'm very happy with my results. As I said at the beginning, I think, of this vlog, maybe, I have only read one book prior to this vlog this month, so reading 4 more, a win is a win. Even if I only read Long Live Evil, a win would be a win. Again, it comes out the Tuesday after you're seeing this, and truly cannot recommend enough if you are a villain lover like myself. That's it, I guess. Another incredibly successful fantasy romance vlog. So far, we are hitting favorites of the year in each one of these, so maybe we should try another one before the year ends. I don't know, but thanks so much for watching. I'm sure this ended up being horrifically long. I don't know how long it is currently. I have not put all the clips together, but thanks for watching me hit all my fantasy romance goals. I need to get the Queen's Thief read-along posted before my children get home, so I need to go and get back to regular life, but thank you so much for hanging out with me on this little break from reality where we focused on reading. Did I read as much as I wanted to? No, but in the end, I was really happy with the balance that I did. I had a really good break from my kids, and I'm happy with the choices I made. And again, go read Long Live Evil. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.